On a warm April afternoon in the manicured suburb of Willow Creek, Daniel Harper stood at the edge of his driveway, the garden hose in his hand sending a gentle arc of water over his blooming azaleas. The air carried the hum of distant lawnmowers and the rhythmic tick of sprinklers, a predictable symphony of suburban life. His wife, Sarah, knelt a few feet away, carefully pinning a spring wreath to their front door, a delicate creation of faux daisies and a soft green ribbon, her morning's labor to welcome the season. It was simple, understated, a quiet nod to renewal. Then, without warning, a matte black SUV crept to a stop across the street, its tinted windows swallowing the sunlight, no license plate in sight, as if it had emerged from thin air. Daniel's grip tightened on the hose, his eyes narrowing. Two men stepped out, their movements synchronized, exuding a chilling authority. They wore camouflage cargo pants, black shirts, and tactical vests that mimicked military gear but betrayed their store-bought origins on closer inspection. One had a body cam clipped to his chest, its red light blinking like an unblinking eye. The other clutched a clipboard, its pages fluttering in the breeze. Mirrored sunglasses hid their eyes, and cheap plastic badges gleamed on their vests, engraved with the words, Willow Creek Enforcement DVY Shown, Community Standards Unit, in bold, all-caps font. Sarah turned, a puzzled smile flickering on her face. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice polite but wary. "Ma'am, your door decoration violates Willow Creek HOA Regulation 12.7. The taller man barked, his tone clipped, rehearsed. "Step forward for immediate compliance processing." Daniel froze, the words jarring against the quiet afternoon. Sarah's smile faded. "I'm sorry, what?" she said, glancing at Daniel, then back at the men. The shorter man unfolded a sheet of paper, its pixelated HOA logo, an illegible signature screaming amateur. "This is your notice of violation," he said. "Non-compliance warrants enforcement measures." Daniel stepped forward, incredulous. "It's a wreath. For spring. This is a mistake." The taller man moved to block him, his hand resting on a stun de VYC at his belt. "Sir, remain where you are. This is official HOA business." Sarah backed away, her voice firm. "I'm not going anywhere with you." In an instant, the men lunged. One seized her arm, the other gripped her shoulders. She screamed, a raw sound of shock, twisting against their hold. "Hey!" Daniel shouted, dropping the hose and sprinting toward them. The taller man raised the stun to VYC, its crackle a silent threat. "Don't escalate, sir. You're already on our watch list." Sarah's cries grew desperate, her voice breaking as she called Daniel's name. Before he could reach her, they dragged her across the lawn, shoved her into the SUV's open door, and slammed it shut. The vehicle roared to life, peeling out with a screech of tires, vanishing around the corner. Daniel stood rooted to the spot, water pooling behind him from the abandoned hose, his world unraveling. The neighbors saw it all but did nothing. A man peeked through his blinds, then disappeared. A woman gardening across the street met Daniel's gaze, then looked away, her hands busy with weeds. An Amazon driver slowed his van, then sped off. Daniel was alone, his wife stolen in broad daylight by men wielding a false authority no one questioned. At the police station, Officer Martinez barely glanced at the incident report. "If they're HOA compliance, and you signed their charter, that's a CIVYL matter," he said, leaning back, arms crossed. "They're not police," Daniel snapped. "They're nobodies in tactical gear." Martinez shrugged. "File a complaint. Get a lawyer." The Willow Creek HOA office was no better. Gerald Vance, the president, sipped coffee behind his desk, unmoved. "Our volunteers acted in the spirit of regulation," he said smoothly. "She broke the rules. Perhaps she'll choose her decor more wisely next time." Daniel's blood boiled. "Give me their names." Vance smiled thinly. "Leadership emerges where it's needed." Their names were Carl and Vincent Holt, brothers bound by a shared obsession. To Willow Creek, they were unremarkable middle-aged men who faded into hardware stores and yard sales. But in their minds they were the Willow Creek Standards Task Force. Guardians of Order. No such group existed in any official capacity, but they had built a facade, tactical vests ordered online, badges from a trophy shop, pastel warning forms printed at home, and a black SUV registered to Hold Property Solutions LLC, a shell company with a P.O. box and a garage full of gear. Carl, a former mall security guard fired for overzealousness, craved obedience, a need rooted in a childhood of being ignored. Vincent, with a rap sheet of threats and bar fights, was the muscle quick to anger, eager to act. They had no training, no legal authority, only a twisted belief that if real law wouldn't act, they must. Their campaign began subtly: notes on driveways, inspections of unlocked gates, warnings for minor infractions like a basketball left in a yard. Residents barely noticed the shift from nosy neighbors to self-styled enforcers until Sarah's wreath, a cheerful arrangement of daisies, became their target. To the Holts, it was a breach of VY-SOL protocol, a threat to their imagined order. They documented it in their fabricated database. Subject engaged in public defacement of community standards. Action: Level 3 correctional engagement. In their world, Sarah wasn't a neighbor, she was a disruptor. They took her to a foreclosed house at the edge of Willow Creek, its boarded windows and overgrown yard masking their Sector 4 compliance zone. In its mildew-soaked basement, they cuffed Sarah to a rusted pipe, not to harm, they told themselves, but to center her. A flickering utility light hung above, powered by an orange extension cord. They fed her unlabeled cans, one reeking of dog food. Vincent recorded correctional segments on his phone, forcing her to repeat phrases. I am a disruptive neighbor. Order outweighs taste. When she refused, he recited them, making her listen. The VY Deos went to an unlisted channel. Willow Creek Ethics Archive. EVY Denke for a trial only they NVYConade. Sarah conserved her strength, whispering her own name in the dark to anchor herself. On the third night Daniel found her. Sleepless, he'd scoured maps and city records, tracking the faint GPS signal from Sarah's smartwatch, which the Holts hadn't noticed. At the abandoned house, he peered through a cracked basement window, seeing her on the concrete floor, eyes defiant despite the dim light. She looked up, their gazes locking through the grimmy no words, just a shared resolve. He knew where she was, and he would end this. The police dismissed him again, the HOA stonewalled. Desperate, Daniel heard of Clara Voss, an attorney feared for dismantling abusers of power. He drove 2 hours to her office, a stark warehouse with no frills, just a plaque. Clara Voss, attorney at law, licensed in 5 states, feared in all. At 64, Voss was sharp, her gray suit and black boots exuding authority. She listened as Daniel recounted everything, then watched the basement VY Deo of Sarah, her hollow but unbroken gaze searing the screen. Voss cleaned her glasses slowly. They're not just getting arrested, she said. They're getting crushed. Voss moved like a storm. Bypassing local police, she took the footage to the state attorney general. Within days, a grand jury charged the Holts with kidnapping, false imprisonment, impersonation of law enforcement, and racketeering. The story broke online, the basement VY Deo spreading like wildfire, tagged Willow Creek HOA Justice. Views surged, comments raged, and the nation watched in horror. The Willow Creek HOA board called an emergency meeting, the first packed in years. Vance resigned, slipping away without a word. Neighbors began speaking out, a teacher fined for an unapproved mailbox color, a family filmed for a barking dog, a father warned about his kid's late playtime. The Harpers weren't the first VY Tims, just the first to fight. Courtroom 7B overflowed with locals, reporters, and onlookers. Daniel sat near the front, Sarah beside him, her wrists fading cuff marks uncovered. Let them see, she'd said. The Holt brothers entered, Carl smirking like a showman, Vincent scanning the crowd for validation. The charges: 37 counts of kidnapping, 41 of unlawful imprisonment, 18 of aggravated assault, and more piled up like a landslide. The prosecution demanded 5,124 years each, one for every HOA subclause the Holts twisted. Sarah took the stand, her voice steady, a storm beneath her calm. She described the cuff, the concrete, the rancid food, the forced recitations. "They didn't hurt me to silence me," she said. "They wanted me to agree I was wrong." Her final words cut deep. "You don't know how fragile your name is until someone tries to erase it." The courtroom froze, the jury transfixed. The defense didn't dare question her. Judge Eleanor Grayson, a veteran of tough cases, presided with quiet intensity. When she spoke, her voice was steel. "You crafted a delusion, cloaked in badges and rules, demanding others obey. But power without law is tyranny. You had only fear, no authority." She sentenced them to 10,248 years each, no parole, the number a deliberate echo of their abused code. Carl stood without protest. Vincent shouted, "We were the good guys. You'll regret this." The courtroom remained silent, the gavel's single strike sealing their fate. The Harpers left Willow Creek, selling their house without looking back. They settled in a lakeside town 3 states away, where porch lights burned from forgetfulness, not timers, and mail carriers knew your dog's name. Their new home, with soft gray siding and a screened porch, held Sarah's potted herbs and books. No HOA signs, no clipboards, just space to breathe. On their 3rd morning, Sarah unpacked a new wreath VYVYD, defiant red, not festive but raw, a statement that clashed with the porch's calm. She hung it, stepped back, and nodded. Daniel stood beside her, their silence a shared vow. A neighbor, Ellen, stopped by with lemons, eyeing the wreath. "That's something," she said. "What's it mean?" Sarah smiled faintly. Daniel spoke softly. "Where we came from, wreaths means Sir VY Vel." Ellen nodded, Leah VYing the lemons, no further questions needed. Sarah painted now, her canvases wild jagged peaks, clashing skies, art that demanded feeling over order. Daniel restored old boats at the marina, making broken things whole. Their life was small, deliberate, with coffee mornings and breezy evenings. But the red wreath stayed, faded but firm. Inside, a locked drawer held their readiness. If a stranger knocked with a badge too shiny, a voice too certain, Daniel would smile, and Sarah would stand behind him, beyond the wreath, clear-eyed and unafraid. They'd lived through false power once. They'd never mistake its sound again.